All right, let's talk about China. For years, we've heard the story of economic miracles, skyscrapers, bullet trains, and a nation rising at breakneck speed. China sold the world a vision of unstoppable progress, lifting millions into a new middle class. But every story has a sequel, and this one is far less triumphant. Today, in cities like Shanghai and Beijing, a different reality is unfolding. One of layoffs, shuttered factories, and growing desperation. The economic engine is sputtering, and the people who powered the miracle are now the first to feel the fall. Behind the facade of prosperity, a quiet crisis is taking hold. Empty wallets, empty stomachs, and broken promises. It's not a crisis of war, but of survival. The software engineer laid off from a tech giant, the factory worker replaced by a robot. These are the new faces of hardship. This isn't a distant problem. It's happening now to real people. So, what happened to the miracle? The truth is, the foundations were always fragile. Growth was prioritized over safety nets, and now, as the economy cools, millions are left exposed. It's a story we can't afford to ignore. The iron rice bowl, a job for life, was once a pillar of Chinese society. Now, it's been replaced by mass layoffs and job insecurity. Tech firms, real estate giants, and factories are shedding workers by the tens of thousands. Take Wang Wei, a programmer who did everything right. Top university, grueling hours, loyalty to his company, only to be optimized out of a job overnight. Suddenly, his stable life collapses. No salary, mounting bills, and no safety net. This wave isn't limited to tech. Factory workers and migrants are being sent home with little more than a final paycheck. The promise of urban prosperity has evaporated, leaving many stranded between a city that's closed its doors and a countryside they barely know. The psychological toll is immense. Unemployment here means shame, secrecy, and a loss of identity. People pretend to go to work, hiding their struggle from family and friends. The iron rice bowl once held dignity as well as food. Now, for millions, it's shattered, leaving only uncertainty. The new reality, survival, not security. And the safety net? Full of holes. Hunger in China isn't just a relic of the past. It's back in a new form. In cities of luxury and abundance, more people are quietly struggling to eat. You'll see them near restaurant back doors, young, recently employed, now waiting for leftover food. They aren't beggars, but the newly invisible casualties of an economic downturn. Stories like the young woman asking for leftover fried chicken, her video deleted within hours, offer a glimpse into this hidden crisis. Buddhist temples and community groups now serve free meals, with lines stretching long and silent. Laid-off workers and former office employees eat side by side, united by need. This isn't about isolated incidents. It's a systemic problem. The hunger is quiet, but it's spreading. In the shadow of prosperity, a new hunger game is underway, and it's happening in China's richest cities. Homelessness, once dismissed as a Western problem, is now a reality in China's megacities. Underpasses, fast food restaurants, and parks are home to a growing urban homeless population. Many were recently employed, delivery drivers, factory workers, now priced out by soaring rents and sudden layoffs. Take Lee, a former delivery driver. As orders dried up, he lost his room and now sleeps in a pedestrian tunnel, searching for odd jobs by day. The government's response? Periodic cleanups, pushing people further into the shadows. For many, there's nowhere to return. Rural homes offer no prospects. The city that once promised hope now offers only concrete and cardboard. Homelessness is no longer invisible. It's a growing crisis, hidden in plain sight. The cycle of displacement deepens, making the vulnerable even more so. And the safety net? Still missing. Tangping, lying flat, has become the motto of China's disillusioned youth. Years of pressure, exams, and sky-high housing costs have led to record youth unemployment. 1 in 5, sometimes 1 in 2, recent graduates can't find work. Degrees in hand, they face a brutal job market and shrinking opportunities. Many retreat into bailan, letting it rot, choosing apathy over a rigged system. This isn't laziness. It's a rational response to a broken promise. The dream of a white-collar career is replaced by gig work or dependence on parents. The government urges them to eat bitterness, but lectures can't fix structural problems. A generation's hope is fading, replaced by cynicism and withdrawal. The youth quake is shaking the foundations of the Chinese dream. The future for millions looks less like a bullet train, more like a dead end, and the consequences could be profound. While urban poverty grabs headlines, rural poverty in China is deep and persistent. The countryside has long been hollowed out, its young gone, its elderly left behind. Grandparents raise grandchildren on remittances from cities, but now even that lifeline is vanishing. Mass layoffs mean fewer remittances, more hardship. Here, poverty means not enough to eat, no access to health care, and children seeing parents only once a year. Officially, extreme poverty is eliminated, but the reality is far more complex. Now, laid-off workers are returning to villages with no jobs and no future. They return not in triumph, but in defeat, struggling to fit into a world they thought they'd left behind. The rural abyss is becoming a basin for the urban crisis. The divide between city and countryside is only growing. How did China's miracle unravel? It's a perfect storm. The property market, once the engine of growth, became a bubble, and it burst. Real estate giants collapsed, construction halted, and millions lost jobs and savings. The ripple effects hit banks, suppliers, and workers across the economy. At the same time, global demand shrank, trade wars escalated, and companies moved supply chains elsewhere. The government's crackdown on tech giants wiped out billions and led to mass layoffs. The core problem, a system that chased growth at all costs, neglecting social safety nets. There's little unemployment insurance, inadequate health care, and a strained pension system. Shiny infrastructure was built, but the soft support for people was ignored. When the engine stalled, there was nothing to catch those who fell. The result? A crisis that touches every corner of society, and no easy fix in sight. This isn't about GDP or stock charts, it's about people. Chen, the noodle shop owner, lost everything after the economic slump, now in his 50s with no savings or job. May and June, a young couple, bought an apartment in a new development, now a ghost shell after the developer went bankrupt but the mortgage remains. These stories aren't anecdotes, they're the reality for millions. The emotional toll is immense: shame, anxiety, and the despair of seeing your life's work vanish. The crisis is hidden behind censorship and national pride, but the suffering is real. When we talk about China's poverty crisis, we must remember the human cost. These are the invisible wounds that don't show up in official reports. The stories matter, they're a warning to us all. We must look past the numbers and see the faces, because behind every statistic is a life upended, and these stories must be heard. We can't let them be forgotten. So, what can we do? Turning away isn't an option. The first step is to bear witness, to look, to listen, and to refuse the sanitized narrative. These people deserve to have their stories told. Empathy is a radical act in a world that urges us to look away. When you see a story of struggle, pause, and remember the person behind it. Their courage in sharing deserves our respect. We must fight the normalization of suffering and insist on their humanity. Our work is to find these voices and share them with you. Your engagement matters. By watching, sharing, and talking, you help create a chorus that can't be ignored. Let's make sure the stories of Wang Wei, Li, Mei, and June aren't lost. Because a crisis like this is a lesson for us all. Thank you for listening.